watching there for this one. All right, here are the match stats, but in the end, they had to split the points. Manchester City and a certain Pep Guardiola definitely wouldn't be happy after this one. Let's have a look at the standings. So Liverpool still very much in first place, but Man City in fifth. It's kind of doesn't make for pretty reading there for the citizens. Of course, a couple of teams like Arsenal and Chelsea do have to play again tomorrow, so those things could potentially change a little bit, but still.
Well, it looks like England are going to get the fifth spot for the Champions League, and it is not a given that the best side in England for the last 5 or 6 years, and Liverpool had a little spell where they won the league, but then, generally Man City were the team at the end of the year. I think it was at 4 out of 5 or something, or whatever it was, I can't quite remember. If you'd have said at the start of the season, A, they're not going to be in the title race, and they're not going to be one of the teams to beat along with Arsenal, you'd have been like, I'm not sure about that. And if you'd have said, well, they're going to struggle and have a bun fight to be in the Champions League next year, nobody would have believed you.
Absolutely.
But that's where they are. That is absolutely where they are, and it would not be a huge shock to me if one of the other teams was managed to put a run together. I mean, I think they will get in, to be honest, but they really have left themselves open to another 1 or 2 teams hitting a bit of late season form, and their defensive struggles keep coming back to bite them in the backside, and all of a sudden next year they're not in the Champions League. That's not pie in the sky stuff. That could happen, and we would never have said that. Wouldn't even have given it a thought. Nope. 6-7 months ago, not a thought.
But they can't argue about it either.
No.
They're where they are because of how they've performed. And Pep said it after the game. Defensively, they're just at 6s and 7s. They're not a unit. They don't defend as a unit. Their line is not ever together. There's always a straggler. There's always somebody too high. And when you're playing against a side like Brighton, who thrive on getting at you quickly on the counter. I mean, today, it could have been 4-4, but it also could have been 5-4 to Brighton, because the chances Brighton had, that a goal disallowed early on, that shouldn't have been disallowed. So Man City are absolutely where they deserve to be and where they should be. And yes, you wouldn't put... Would you put a lot of money on them getting that 5th spot? Because right now, you got Brighton, you got Bournemouth, you obviously got City. There are at least four teams going for that 5th spot. So they are exactly where they deserve to be.
Shouldn't he have seen this coming?
Pep.
In the summer. Now, you can't see the Robbery injury or anybody's injury. You can't see that. But whilst on the outside, we all looked at it and went, this squad's going to be there again. Can he, as a manager of some repute, can he not see in the summer, Grealish, I'm not going to get the same out of him, Bernardo Silva, who's been brilliant for them, Kevin De Bruyne, at the end of last season, De Bruyne was struggling, heavy legs, cup final, was barely in the game. Is it not, did Guardiola take his eyes off it in the summer, and all of a sudden in January they had to go and spend money? And I'm just wondering whether, with his contract talks and whatnot, he obviously didn't see it coming, but should he have seen the decline in some of these big stars? The Kyle Walkers, John Stones injuries, Kevin De Bruyne, Bernardo Silva. He brought in a player again in Gundogan that wasn't the same player that left, but he brought him in because he had to. Should, as a manager, he have seen this coming earlier? That's one of the big questions.
I think you can definitely argue that he should have seen it coming. The defensive side of it, I don't think so. He would never have known this. The stuff that Kyle Walker's been going through off the field, plus he's getting on in years. The Stones injury, Akanji, Ake, they've been injured the whole season. And Diaz, Pep was singing Diaz's praises after today, but I'm sorry, Diaz has, in my opinion, his standards from winning the Player of the Year have really dropped. So I think from a defensive point of view, you can't point the finger, but certainly the attacking side and the midfield side that Craig was on about, you definitely can't point the finger.
Well, just back to your point again about should Pep have seen this coming as well. Man City have always had the B and the C team that's the envy of the entire world. At what point, maybe not even in January, do you look at your board and say, I need this again?
Oh, they'll have to go again in the summer. If these charges are whatever happens, they could be playing in a different division. It just seems to have been rumbling on for so long, so we can't. How long's a piece of string? We don't know what's going to happen there. But they will have to go again. Whatever they spent in January, they will have to do that and some. Now, Rodri will be back, but Rodri's a player, a much vaunted player. You know, it's going to be tough to hold on to him. You know, Real Madrid, in particular, have been a team that's Luka Modric and Toni Kroos and Casemiro. Two have gone, the other one's in his late 30s. They look for these type of players. So hanging on to somebody like Rodri is very, very tough. So all these superstars that they've had are either coming towards the end of their career or could be poached by other huge elite clubs. Now, for those that say, oh, this is a Rodri problem in terms of he would have fixed all these scenarios for Man City, that's pie in the sky. He's not. He's a terrific player, but he ain't Superman. You know what I mean? So he can't plug every gap going. But there's no doubt he's a miss. But it's not just getting these top players now to come in and, you know, think about it. They've had over the years, they've had a very good conveyor belt about replacing stars. Vincent Kompany leaves, they bring others in. David Silva, who was a sort of 9 out of 10 most weeks for years, he leaves, they bring others in. Fernandinho leaves. I'm at the wrong club. Fernandinho leaves. Who was a stalwart for them? You know,
Mahrez. Mahrez in.
Came into a clutch goal when he was needed.
Rodri replaces. You know, so they've managed to replace these players, these top players, not just good ones. They're leaders in the dressing room. They managed to replace them.
They haven't quite replaced Julian Alvarez, one could say.
Well, they were hoping to do that with Doku and Savinho.
Well, that was going to be my next point. Marmoush seems to be the bright spark, at least.
Marmoush is something different.
Yeah.
Marmoush is something different for them. Obviously scored a ton of goals at Eintracht Frankfurt, but he's something different. He's somebody that can come in and play close to Erling Haaland. He's somebody that likes to run in behind rather than sort of dribble with the ball. They've got dribblers. They've got Grealish. They've got Doku. They've got Savinho. Marmoush gives them something different. There's no doubt that is a good sign. And the question is, the quality they got for years from the Mahrez's estate, who was a game changer, there's no doubt about it, from Kevin De Bruyne, from Bernardo Silva, and one or two others, that's on the wane or pretty much gone. How do you replace that quality? It is not easy.
The other thing with Rodri, though, does everybody think that Rodri is going to put his boots on and just be the Rodri that
we knew
the day he got injured? It takes time. I mean, look at Van Dijk at Liverpool. It took him, 8-9 months to get back to the Van Dijk of old. So you've got to expect Rodri to be the same. And if Man City think he's just going to, as I say, lace them up and be Rodri again, no, it's going to take some time. I've got to
be honest, I don't know about you. I don't foresee, no matter what they spend, Man City getting back to a position of dominance. I don't see it. I think the manager has lost a step with his enthusiasm for it. We saw Jurgen Klopp leave Liverpool because...
Do you think Pep's not leaving at the right time then? Of course he signed an extension, but if you see this repeating itself next year...
It seemed to me that it took so long to sign the extension that he was almost doubting himself. Is this the right thing to do? Blah, blah, blah. And Klopp said it when he left Liverpool. It was 7 days a week. It was 12 months a year. And it gets to you. Right. You know, you're dealing with the media.
You're winning, and it gets you and you're winning. So what's it doing to him right now?
And the question is he got the drive to go again and try and build? Because Liverpool are not going anywhere. You'd imagine Arsenal are going to go and spend in the summer. Maybe Chelsea will be a little better, although they'll look as if they'll get the top 4. So the fight isn't getting any easier. And I really question whether they're going to be... In fact, I don't honestly think they will be the dominant force they once were. And I wonder if that means at the end of the day, Guardiola will just do what he's done before. Step away and take some time out.
Yeah. Well, speaking of not being the dominant force that they once were before, or once we thought they would be, Phil Foden, what's going on there? He was on the bench today, but
absolutely no idea.
Yeah.
He's a symptom of what's going on, I think, at City. Plus, he had a tough start to the season because he wasn't 100% fit. He had all the games during the summer. He really didn't get a break. And then you've got the problems that City have had on the field. You know, if anybody's going to have trouble, it's going to be your forward players when the rest of the team isn't functioning properly. And he's just I think that his form is a symptom of what's been going on. I don't think it's down to him, not all down to him personally. Just a factor of the way it's been at City generally.
You don't think it's lifestyle with him? I say that as I'm not privy to it, but You know, he has been. It's weird how it's just sort of fallen off a cliff. If it's nothing to do with training or activities, you know, going to nightclub or whatever it is, I don't know.
He's still so young. I think he accomplished so much.
Listen,
so young.
we've seen, it's been very public, Jack Grealish.
Yeah.
Right? Basically bouncing around town at 2 or 3 in the morning, right? And okay, and listen, I'm not, when he was playing and I was playing, it was a sort of feather in your cap if you were out with the lads.
Everybody was there.
Because they were all doing the same thing.
And there wasn't as much of a magnifying lens on.
The game has changed, right? So if you want to be in that elite level now where they are, it's not something that you can do and get away with. It's going to catch up with you. And we've seen it with Grealish.
Yeah.
And he's, by his own admission, he's a bit of a party animal. And I'm only wondering with the likes of Phil Foden and maybe 1 or 2 others, whether there's more to it than just a loss of form. If that's the case, you can get it back, because you can always adjust your attitude, which would be a shame for both those players, but particularly Phil Foden, because when he's on his game,